South Africa, where the trial of the 5 men accused of murdering South African soccer player Senzo Meyiwa has started over from scratch in Pretoria. The case was assigned to a new judge after the original trial judge was suspended. The case began in 2022 with the testimony of a police witness. Meyiwa was the captain of the South Africa football team and played as a goalkeeper. He was killed in a shooting in October 2014. Joining us now to unpack this story is South African journalist and editor Dianne. Thank you so much for joining us on NC Continental Prime.
Good evening.
Good evening. So, Dianne, this trial has been filled with so much controversy, and now it has restarted. So can you keep us up to speed on how that has happened and the updates today?
It really has been a controversial trial, particularly because of the time that it took for the trial to actually begin. I mean, if one thinks about it, the murder took place in 2014, and it was quite some time before there were even arrests in this case, and before we saw the trial beginning, in 2022. Now the case has actually restarted as a result of a new judge being brought in. Luckily, there hasn't been that much evidence thus far, although some of the evidence was quite detailed. And all of this evidence will now have to be heard from the beginning. Of course, it's something that the Meyiwa family have been quite concerned about, the delays in this case, and the restart of this trial is another delay that nobody really could have anticipated.
Okay, now that the trial has begun from the scratch, what about the evidence? You talked about the fact that there's been no so much evidence. So it doesn't mean that this evidence will be all compiled together.
Well, what it means is that those witnesses will have to be called again to court to testify. And that's what is really going to cause a delay. For example, the first witness who had testified actually took quite a lengthy period to testify because it was a stop-start testimony. He testified for a few weeks, but he has a severe back injury, and he couldn't continue testifying for an extremely long period of time. So his testimony was for about 1 day or 2 days here and there, and overall it ended up taking quite a long time to get through his testimony. So we're anticipating that that witness will probably have to return to the stand along with some of the other witnesses who were called thus far, meaning obviously that the case will be delayed. Something else that delayed the case previously, which luckily we won't see this time around, is that one of the advocates in the case had quite a contentious relationship with the previous judge. We saw a lot of back and forth, and there was even complaints laid against him, and that caused a lot of delays in the proceedings. Hopefully we won't see anything like that, and the court case will proceed speedily instead of having that stop-start approach that was in place before.
Now, away from the delays and this current trial, I mean, the state has restarted the trial with the evidence of Zandile Khumalo. So what does she know about the crime?
Well, Zandile Khumalo was one of the people who was in the house at the time of the actual shooting. She is the sister of Kelly Khumalo, who was the girlfriend of Senzo Meyiwa at the time. So she is kind of taking the court through the evidence of what she saw that took place. But the interesting and important thing is that the judge now will have to discard what was said before, even though it was reported on in the media, and take all of her evidence afresh. She had already started testifying, and there was actually a period where she didn't want her face or her voice to be shown, and she didn't want people to know who she was. But the court ruled against that because she is a well-known media personality, and said that her testimony can actually be made public.
Thank you so much, Dianne, for the updates on this trial.
Thank you.